New Zealand dollar particularly, for example, you had a fall, and understanding key price action levels is so important because you can see you come more or less in line with previous weekly support, okay, or resistance into support, and you've had a bounce there. Significantly, you bounced off your key moving average down here, okay, this one, I believe that's your 20, I think, or your 40. You dip down there and you're now getting your reaction. Now, like I just said, you can see the momentum is coming with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So in other words, people are just at this point starting to say, okay, well, I don't want to buy the US dollar as much. I've just got my news flash on the right-hand side. There was German news today. It's not really, it's fed a bit of volatility, but not done an awful lot. But just overnight, really, you've had your drop in the value of the dollar. Yesterday, you had a poll, Federal Reserve to cut funds rate in Q2. Okay, so that's fed in slightly. There's lots of polls come out for the US. So yeah, momentum coming with its counterpairs, counterparties. I wouldn't be surprised really if you get higher into weekly resistance up here. It wouldn't shock me too much. So you could engage in dip buying, in other words, dropping your time frames and rebuying as price comes along. That's a really good tactic to have because it stops you really making poorer decisions, if you like, in terms of buying. If you bought now, you'd be a little bit late. You wouldn't get max market value, or at least part of the market value available. So if it does become the case that at some point your stock oscillator or your RSI, whatever, trickles along like this and you come to an area value support, you could consider getting long and trading it to the upside if you required a long entry. Now that, in some ways, is the same for other US pairs, but I would just have the caveat that they've all got different price action, and like I said, they are weighted differently against the DXY. That's why. So they're not all going to move exactly the same, although they do involve the US dollar. Again, you can see midterm / early support up here, and I wouldn't be shocked if you do get to that point, okay? Because you bounced off this weekly level and you're coming back to another, and it'll coincide with monthlies, I'm sure, as well. So yeah, you can see minor monthly price action coming up. So in short, I think you've got room to go on your dollar pairs to the upside, more or less. And I think that may be where you end up in the nearest term, perhaps in an intraday process, or as we go out to the latter stages of the week. If you go to your pound dollar as well, you've risen and risen, 4 straight 4 hours, 16 hours. You're now coming to what is a layer of resistance. You may find you pull back slightly before you get any higher, and I think it's going to be similar across those US pairs. But ultimately, you're looking at mid to short-term daily and weekly levels. Your pound doesn't have as much room, really. You've tentatively fallen. That's why you've got these slightly lower highs like this and the flat bit on the bottom. Could say perhaps it's slightly like this, but you would have to draw this on a certain amount of periods, obviously, because it's not parallel in that way. So mainly you're falling flat, just doing it very slowly because there isn't that long side bias against the US dollar just yet in a more momentous way. Okay, that's why you're teetering. Nonetheless, I like it short. I like it short intraday, and I think you may get here, but I wouldn't buy the other US pairs and short this one. Like I said, I think they're going to all have a pullback, so I would short. Well, I mean, it'd be reasonable for shorts now, really. Just do it tentatively. Don't be, ridiculous with it. You may find it ends up something like we had here, where it falls and pops, or there. Okay, and that's what we're looking for here again. So you can see the downwards trajectory as of late. It hasn't been a terribly long time, but it's been more or less throughout January, start of January to now. So US pairs, my bias. I wouldn't consider buying the pound dollar really on a dip. The others I would, but at this point, I think you may get an intraday short across the board on those US pairs particularly. Okay, so that is your US pair.